Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. We bid to our respected lecturer, Dr. Madiha, and our beloved classmates. We are from Group 7, and today we will talk about the relevance of two Egyptian literary texts of our choice to Egypt's political, economical, and environmental landscape. I am the first presenter, and I will present the first part of the presentation. The first literary text is a novel published in 2008 titled Utopia by Ahmad Khalid Taufik. Ahmad Khalid Taufik was known as the first contemporary science fiction Arabian writer, and Utopia is recognized as his first as well as the most popular book that featured this genre. According to Yaqub in an article, as a pioneer of this genre, he has inspired many younger authors, and one of them published a well-known book entitled Vertigo. According to Bryant and Samatar in their articles, Utopia is a dystopian novel set in 2023 in Egypt, where the society is divided into two communities, the rich who live in Utopia and the poor, which are called the others. The rich are grown up in a lavish manner where they are arrogant and ignorant towards their surroundings, poverty and violence that the others suffered. Boredom of living lavish and luxurious made Allah hop himself on a bus full of the others on their way home after finishing working with the Utopians. The unfairness between the others and the Utopian is significant, as the land of the others is well known for its poverty and scarce sources, which they among themselves hunt for limited food for their survival. Meanwhile, the Utopians possesses everything, not even lacking any single thing, including food and other sources such as water or electricity.
The novel revolves around several issues. Sofia Samatar highlights the economic inequality between the two communities, the collapse of government credibility, the privatization of properties, and the rage of youth to revolt. Meanwhile, Yasmin Rashidi pointed out that Tawfiq hints what is bound to happen in the future. Egypt could no longer depend on tourism for their source of income, high unemployment rates, exploitation of the poor, salaries and services put to a halt. These issues are also seen in real-life events of Egypt. According to Khalid Hanafi Ali, gated communities in Egypt were established in the 1970s and 1980s and built for political or security purposes. He added that in recent years, economic inequality is apparent as the gated communities are complete with services and infrastructures, yet the poor are moneyless to utilize such services. According to the timeline of Egypt's revolution, in 2011, the infamous revolution called the Arab Spring happened as a response to overthrow the oppressive government and the low standard of living. Primos Manfreda stated that the youths were unhappy with the unemployment rates and struggles of university graduates working as taxi drivers to survive. As written in the Egypt chose a looser lockdown, its economy is still in crisis article, Egypt suffers from economic crisis involving business in the private sector, export orders, foreign currency, and tourism revenues to decline as a result of the COVID pandemic. Furthermore, as reported by Ruth Michelson, there was a recent protest on demolition of homes of those economically affected by the pandemic. Additionally, a resident from a village in Giza expressed that the government claims for the lands housing dozens of families belongs to the Ministry of Endowments, and they have the right to confiscate it. Consequently, citizens were caught for going against orders, and the president ordered for the interference of military power if rebellious acts worsened. Even though the novel was published before the 2011 revolution, it is seen as an extreme but logical and realistic recurrence of the future to spark realization among Egyptians on Egypt's economy if it continues to decline. As a whole, the issues addressed in the novel and in real-life events highlights the concern of the political and economical crisis experienced in Egypt.
The second literary text chosen is Mona Princess Revolution is My Name, an Egyptian woman's diary from 18 days in Tahrir, which was published in 2014. This novel depicts the writer's experience and her contribution in the event of the January 25 revolution in Egypt. It is also an account of Egypt's 2011 momentous event in relation to the Arab Spring Revolution, and it witnesses many obstacles and struggles on the part of the author and Egypt's protesters. The major themes and issues highlighted in Prince's autobiographical book include political as well as environmental problems.
As for political issues, the writer makes the reader aware of the issue which took place in Egypt, specifically when the 25 January revolution successfully deposed Mubarak, and one of the reasons for it is the close relationship between the Egyptians and their military. According to ENGL, the Egyptians always gave their full respect to their army as they had some victorious and strategic war against Israel since 1973 and managed to avoid humiliation in regards to the Six-Day War in 1967. The writer itself, which is the protester, salute and paid tributes to the soldiers who passed away during 1973 war against Israel. Prince also shows her acceptance of the military by creating a new chant, which is "The army and the people are one hand," while climbing on tanks and taking selfies with the armies. The writer shows that the Egyptians certainly accepted the military by not making them as enemies, and this relationship between protesters and military fit in protesters' perspective. With Morsi's religious authoritarianism causing outrage among protesters led to the downfall of Morsi as president. This explains the reason behind the close relationship between the army and Egyptians, which shows the acceptance of General Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's coup 2013 and making Sisi as the sixth president of Egypt. The writer also states the pivotal role of social media for the revolution. The information in social media had helped the Egyptians to transform their government. Maghribi and his co-authors stated that social media is able to provide the user to broadcast and post their content through text, images, and live streaming video, which helps to share the real events to the receiver. Therefore, the Egyptians tend to use social media as compared to traditional media, as it provides news which is real events, and this is in contrast to the filtered news, which is focusing only on pro-government topics. In consequence, the Egyptians who use social media have a deeper understanding of current issues, equips the user's curiosity, and it helps to provoke their feelings. To conclude, the depiction of the relationship between the army and the protesters and the role of social media were highlighted as the cause for the 25 January revolution.
In relation to the January 25 revolution and the Arab Spring that took place in Egypt as a result of the political instability evident in the country, the protests that happened are also linked with the rise of environmental problems that have long been overlooked by the Egypt government. Princess writing on the Egypt revolutions from both her perspective as well as the protesters is seen as relevant to the country's current condition, as it sheds light to the major environmental issue involving the scarcity of their natural resources. Aside from protesting against political injustices, corruption, police brutality, social prejudices, and many other fights, the Egyptians also included the resources-related issues as one of their fights. As written in Abdel Hamid's article, this is in response to the government's unfavorable prior decision that only brought outcomes which are to their likings instead of prioritizing the citizens' needs. In particular, one of the resources-related issues is regarding the vast export of gas to Israel, which was a major concern especially to many experts of petroleum. According to them, Egypt's natural resources should mainly be used for the development of the country itself before others, especially with the presence of concerning environmental problems. This has continued to be the fight of most citizens involved in the Egypt revolutions, even more so with the government's reluctance in considering their objections. Moreover, the protesters are also rich with Egypt's water scarcity that has been affecting the majority of the population, with the overlapping issue of water pollution. In addition, these environmental issues also contributed to other problems such as destruction of properties that resulted from the protests that happened. Ironic as it seems, some citizens resorted to performing actions that may cause environmental problems in response to the government's poor handling of the country's environmental concern. Mona Prince's work reflects the ongoing political concern which goes hand in hand with the mentioned environmental problems. It is a piece that may help readers in understanding Egypt's political condition alongside comprehending the momentous Egypt revolutions that sparked challenges for the overall country's landscape. In conclusion, these literary works that are written by such exceptional writers are seen as complementary to the condition of Egypt's political, economical, and environmental landscape. They are significant works that successfully help Egyptians in spreading knowledge and awareness regarding the issues that are surrounding the country. With that, we end our presentation. Thank you and Assalamu alaikum.